Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to Brewing with Magic. Well, we are deep in spoiler season, so you know I got my boy Will with us. What's up, Will?
Hey everybody.
And we've got a lot of them to go over with you today, but I want to make sure you see all of these mythics and all these rares that are currently out, and I'm excited. Are you excited?
Very much so. This is awesome.
I mean, I'm not trying to just be a hype train right now. I really do think a lot of these cards are super exciting, and I think we're going to finally see Standard get turned on its head a little. I know we said that last set. Maybe that was wishful thinking. Strixhaven ended up being a little soft. Does have some hard hitters, but there's a lot here. Before we get into that, though, I would love it if you would please check the description down below, because we're doing something really special when we hit 500 subscribers. And if you check down there, it'll tell you all that information. So please smash that subscribe button, rate and review. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for being part of the Brew Crew family. It means a whole lot to us. You have no idea. Also check down below for our social media and share this on a social media of your own. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right into it? Sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the very first one, and I'm thinking OP. I'm already thinking OP. Super strong. So we have Xanthar Guild Kingpin. Now this is a gold card. It's 1 black, 1 blue, and 4 colorless. So 6 mana, but it is worth it. A legendary creature. It's a Beholder. If you're a D&D fan, I'm not even, like I said, I didn't even play the game a lot, and I know what a Beholder is. It's the character from Big Trouble in Little China. No, wait, sorry, no. It looks like that. So it comes out as a 5/6, so it's a nice big old beefy creature. Now let's get into this text, because this is ridiculous. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. So already you can see that kind of can go a commander route, but we're not going to... Anyways, until end of turn, that player can't cast spells. Okay. You may look at the top card of their library anytime. You may play the top card of their library. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast this spell. You go. You go.
Yeah, I honestly, like, from a D&D standpoint, having a Beholder, I mean, it's awesome. So,
and a
this
named
card
Beholder.
kind of...
Yeah,
and the thing that got me about this card, though, was, first of all, you were already thinking, like, Doomere Control, right? You have the Ashiok build. But I was kind of going a different route.
Anti-control.
I was thinking about like a mill deck control deck.
Ooh.
And the reason I say that is because, do you remember, maybe some of you do, maybe some of you don't, but if you play, other formats, like Modern, there's a deck called Lantern Control, right? And it's a lockout deck. So what I was thinking was more around that mindset of using it as a lockout deck. So what's a good card that might be able to go with Xanthara? So, like, Vantress Gargoyle is a good one, where you basically can mill the top. Remember, you get to see the top card, so you know what their top card is. So if it's a land, let them draw it. If it's a nether card, maybe you can play it, or you mill it out with Vantress Gargoyle. And if you have a couple of Vantresses out, then you mill multiple lands, or multiple cards until you see a land. Let them draw a land.
Man.
Goes back to your turn. You keep advancing your board, and you lock them out by making them draw lands every turn, and you're swinging at them for a 5/6.
I didn't even see that. Play, not cast. You could play their land? What if you just played? What if they're land starved and you play? Oh, yeah. I didn't even see that.
So it's either way, and that's why I really love it. So I mean, there's multiple ways to go at this, and I that was one way I was thinking, was kind of creating a standardized version of Lantern Control, which would be hilarious to lock out your opponent and then have them only draw lands. You swing at them and knock out them with all their spells. So
if this doesn't see standard play, I will. No, I'll lose every time. Never mind. But I think this is going to see standard play. So, man, I did not realize it said play. In my head, you just. Anyways. Well, next we're going to go to the Book of Vile Darkness. Now, this is 3 black mana. So you're probably going to have to be pretty deep into mono black or one other splash. It's a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, if you lost 2 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Okay, that's already good. You can also tap it and exile the Book of Vile Darkness and artifacts you control named Eye of Vienna and Hand of Vienna. Create Vienna, a legendary 8/8 black zombie god creature token with one of my favorite keywords, indestructible. It gains all triggered abilities of the exiled cards. I don't think we know what the other cards are yet.
We don't. Not yet.
But I have a feeling we're about to see some crazy mono black decks. So
Yeah, I really like this card. I think it definitely fits into a plum deck kind of factor, where basically you're plumbing them, you're losing a life to draw a card, and if you're killing something, maybe like a pest or whatever, to gain a life, then you're seeing life, but you're losing 2 life, or maybe more, depending on what it is, and creating a 2/2 black zombie, but you're still drawing cards. So I don't know. Same thing with black white life gain. There's ways around that where you can lose life and also gain life. So you're always creating a 2/2 zombie, but also progressing your board state. And I have no idea what the other two cards are yet. I hope they're awesome. And if they are, they'll fit into, like you said, maybe a mono black shell and something else that can deal damage to yourself as well, but still keep you in the game. Yeah.
I also heard a rumor that this is Murderous Rider's brother. No, I just made that up. But if they kind of work really good together, you kill a creature of theirs, you take 2 life and get a 2/2 token. Yep. I mean, come on. That's amazing. So, okay. Well, next we have Ebondeth. Did I say that right? Ebondeth? Dracolich.
Yeah,
Dracolich. Okay. Ebondeth Dracolich. It's 2 black, 2 colorless, another legendary creature. This is a zombie dragon. I'm loving some of these creature types. Now, it is a 5/2, so it can be stomped. I'm going to say it every time. You know it's going to happen. It has flash, so that's really cool. It has flying. Ebondeth Dracolich enters the battlefield tapped. You may cast Ebondeth Dracolich from your graveyard if a creature not named Ebondeth Dracolich died this turn. So, you know, as a person who's just getting really big into building decks, I've played for years, and I've always admitted I'm newer to the building. That's what your job is, Will. You're the deck builder.
Sure.
This one doesn't look... I don't see it yet. So convince me.
So I actually like this card due to the fact that being able to flash is the most important. If it didn't have flash, I would not be invested into this card. But since it can flash in, and it's a 5/2, comes in tapped, I get that. But it's the death mechanic that makes it that much, you know, more viable. So even with, like, say, Vial with Darkness or things along those lines, in Plum decks, Sacrifice decks, Rakdos decks, things along those lines, even if you sack it, say it comes in, you know, it's a 5/2, maybe you're play mono black control, and you have like some, or maybe it's black white, and you have like a token generator, you're making a 1/1, the 1/1 dies, cool, and you're able to bring back in the 5/2. So I don't know, I honestly think this card is probably going to see more play than we think.
You know what? And maybe we should let the audience know. So when we do these, Will is the, you know, he's the scholar, and I'm the guy that talks a lot. He explains the rational side. I'm just... So what I'm getting at is he has notes, and he's previously looked at them. But for fun, I don't. And I just saw it once again. I didn't realize it doesn't have to be your creature.
Nope.
You can, okay, see? So, okay, now I'm a little bit more sold on that. I thought one of your creatures had to die, and I'm just like, but no, that's interesting. So you could just keep bringing it back over and over as long as you kill their... You could board wipe.
Yep.
And then, as long as you didn't exile them all.
Yeah.
And, okay, I'm starting to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we have another dragon that costs 2 white and 2 colorless. Now, the reason I say it that way before I say the name is because I have a feeling we might see a legendary creature dragon of every color, the way I'm seeing this, for 2 of its color and 2 colorless. So we have Icing Death Frost Tyrant. And as I said, 2 white, 2 colorless, legendary creature, just a straight up dragon. White don't play around with other creature types. It is a 4/3, can't get stomped. And it's flying and vigilance. Vigilance is a great keyword. And let's get into the text. When Icing Death Frost Tyrant dies, create Icing Death Frost Tongue, a legendary white equipment artifact token with equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls, and it has equipped 2. That, I mean, there's a lot of value in this card.
Yeah, this is probably going to be one of the strongest cards that we're going to see. Especially, it's twofold, right? So as we start to see more of like equipment decks, Boros decks, things along those lines, this fits right into that category. And as soon as September hits, and we lose a lot of the other sets that are really kind of like the main staples right now, there's a strong look at Boros equipment being something really relative. And this falls directly into that. The other one, too, is like White Weenies. This is just an addition. So here you go.
The top
and
end,
not
right?
only, yeah, because it just top end deck, you know, top end card comes in, Flying Vigilance, it's a 4/3, cool. They have to deal with it. And even if they deal with it, okay, cool, now it's an equipment. You add it to your White Weenie deck in general. Now you have a creature swinging in, and you're tapping their biggest creature, and you're still getting in for the win. So there's a lot of relevance with this card, and I think it's going to be one of the better cards played.
And Moth rotates, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, White's going to be looking for another 4-drop. Yes, there is, I believe Halvar is another one, but, you know, it doesn't hurt to have 2 different legendaries that are super strong. So I think there's going to be some value here. Now, here's one that I'm excited about, says the mono red player. And we have Flame Skull, 2 red, 1 colorless for a 3/1. Yeah, it can be stomped. We don't care. That's not the issue. Let them waste that stomp. Flying. Flame Skull can't block. Good. We're mono red. I don't care. And then it has keyword Rejuvenation. When Flame Skull dies, exile it. If you do, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play one of those cards. If you cast Flame Skull this way, you can't play the other card and vice versa. So just in case, I don't know, it messed with my head a little when I first read it, when it says either card. But basically, you exile the top card, and now you choose, do you want to replay Flame Skull, or is the card you just put in exile better? This is going to give red that over-the-top juice that I think it's been needing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to one of the cards that I love. I think, again, mono red aggro, Rakdos, like those 2 decks come to mind. You know, and what does it work with, too? So say we do go the Rakdos route, right? You know, you're thinking like, you know, the Ebon of Death. Think about the dungeon card, right? The dungeon card alone, you sacrifice that, and now you rejuvenate it, and you're able to bring it back. So there's a lot of other things that this card also fits into.
Bastion.
Yeah, Bastion decks. The other thing too is like from the red aggro side, we do have to remember though, in the air, you know, there's still going to be some like beefy creatures that we're going to have to deal with. It might not be able to get through some of these. I mean, you still have a 6/6 on the ground that it has to deal with until that rotates out. So like, there's going to be some things, but for the most part, the value that this card can bring to you, especially in mono red when you're searching for that better card, he actually might will you into what you need. So regardless, he works both ways, and that's why I kind of dig this card.
Yeah, and if you will into a land, you don't need it. Flame Skull back out. You get a 1/1 that you don't care about, Flame Skull back out. You get a Goldspan Dragon. See you later, Flame Skull. We're going Goldspan.
100%.
So, that's awesome. Okay, next we have Tarask, which is 3 green and 6 colorless, so it better be doing something. It is a legendary creature, dinosaur. Who doesn't like a dinosaur? It's a 10/10, and it has some text. Tarask has haste and ward 10. And just as a reminder, that means if you want to target it, it takes 10 life for you to do so, as it was cast. Whenever Tarask attacks, it fights target creature defending player controls. So, you can't cheat it into play, or you can, but you're not going to get that ward, you're not going to get that haste.
Yeah.
But there's a lot going on here. If you can ramp fast, I don't know, is this a limited card that's a mythic, or do you think we're going to see this get some gameplay? What are we doing with this?
Well, it's funny because in D&D, this is like one of those end game creatures. It's one of the like.
So this isn't made up. This is an actual.
No, this
D&D.
is a real creature. It's like it's an end worlder kind of creature. The problem that I see with this one is the lack of value you normally get with mythic in green. Like think about most of the higher end mythics with green you get, they become uncounterable. Well, this one can be countered. And that one usually gets me the most because you're paying 9 and they could literally just counter it. The other thing that really kind of bugs me about Trask is he doesn't have trample. So that means a 1/1 can block it. And imagine if that 1/1 has death touch. So you're telling me a 1/1 with death touch can just take out a god. So that's the only thing with Trask that kind of really gets me. Now, don't get me wrong. The ward 10 is really awesome because if you're able to cast it, and some of the decks I was thinking about was like mono green stomp, especially with a ramp mechanic, or if you go Simic control with ramp, I think that would be good for him because he could be a finisher. So like you're holding him on, you're ramping out, you're locking out their board, and then boom, 10 to the face. So I mean, I could see it in that, but from my standpoint, like in standard play, for him to be a mythic 10/10, it's lacking some of the extra green things that we typically see in green that you're paying that much for.
Yeah,
so,
I get the point there. You shouldn't have to have a card like it's Garuk, something. It's 1 green, 1 color. Yeah, you shouldn't have to play a card ahead of time that gives a creature of that power haste later. Yes. Or something like that is a good point. So
yeah,
it seemed so a little disappointing. Okay. Well, next is another card that I'm going to love, which means it probably has haste. Spoiler. We have Adult Gold Dragon. It's 1 white, 1 red, 3 colorless. Beautiful, beautiful Boros colors. It is a creature dragon. It is a 4/3, and it has simple text. Flying, lifelink, haste. Yep. I want to know what you have to say, but I know this is seeing some standard play. It just is.
Oh, yeah.
It's also a limited bomb. A limited bomb.
Yeah, the couple of the decks that I was thinking about right off the bat was like a Boros control deck, because now you're starting to get those cards where you can actually create one. You can almost create like a lock with white and then use enough red to, get over the hump. Like maybe a dragon-based Boros control deck. We're using like Goldspan Dragons, Adult Gold Dragon, or even like a kind of like a big red shell with white, and you're splashing it in and you're dropping in Goldspans or Adult Gold Dragons, so you can like go in real quick, gain the life, or just deal the damage, make some, some treasures as well. So it kind of like fits the theme. And then eventually, we have another card that we're going to be talking about soon as well, Minion of the Mighty. And I think building a centric deck around that and this card, I think Dragons is going to see a lot more play. So I'm really excited about this card specifically.
Yeah, and I didn't think about that because part of my head was like, why would someone go this over Goldspan Dragon? Because you get all that mana value. Well, that's a different kind of creature. So if you're playing if you're playing red-white control, there's a very, and you're probably only playing 4 of these and maybe some living lands of some form, some man lands, if you will, some person lands, if you will. And that's probably your only win cons. Usually that's how a control deck works. And you're also getting beat up usually by some kind of a rush deck or all the rush decks in the format. So the fact that this has lifelink and haste and flying going over the head, but mainly the lifelink and haste, means not only do you have a 4/3 body that's starting to chip away at your opponent, but now you're gaining life back. So I didn't think of it in the sense of putting it in a control deck. So I like that. I like that a lot. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and go to Orb of Dragonkind. So that's 1 red, 1 colorless for an artifact. So it is a red artifact. I love that. That means there's going to be something fun. For 1 colorless, you can tap it and add 2 mana in any combination of colors, which is really good. Not just 2 red or your... Spend this mana only to cast dragon spells or activate activated abilities of dragons. So that's really nice. Then for 1 red and tap it, sacrifice Orb of Dragonkind. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a dragon card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So already I see that since this isn't legendary, if you're running 4 of these, you're going to be able to either cast dragons or find dragons.
Yeah, right off the bat, I was like, hey, Commander, they're going to love it. Brawl, I think you're going to love it.
Seems a little slow from Standard.
From Standard, it's going to be a little tricky. But the cool part about it, I see a lot of potential for this artifact. Mainly from the standpoint of like maybe a Prismari Dragon build. I could see that being very effective, because of all the things that it can actually get to. Again, we're talking about like Goldspan Dragons, Terror of the Peaks, Galazeth Prismari. Even if you go red-white and you're having the Vibracious Lorehold, so like you have all of these different types, even the Adult Dragon we just talked about. So there's a lot of ways to kind of like go with it. Me personally, I look at it more of a Prismari Dragon build, just because you have the ability to gain treasures, move a little bit quicker, and maybe even like ramp into what you need and kind of like get there. But yeah, this is definitely, I see value. I don't know until I see a little bit more that comes out.
Yeah, I think the meta's going to have to slow down just a little for this to be really good, but I guess if I step back and just look at the first ability as a pseudo mana rock for a dragon build, maybe it is, a lot of 2-drop mana rocks are good. So, next, we have said Minion of the Mighty. It's 1 red, creature kobold. Now, if you haven't been playing for a while, kobolds are a fun creature that happen to also be in Magic lore. I didn't know they were in D&D lore, I'm not going to lie. And I actually had a Legends Cobalt deck back in the day, and they're hilarious because there were always 0/1s for the most part, and then you had to throw out other ones that would beef them up. So I love that it's kind of following that flavor. Now, what does this do? It has Menace, which is going to be important. Pack Tactics. Whenever Minion of the Mighty attacks, if you attacked with creatures with total power of 6 or greater this combat, you may put a dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So before Will gets into it, I want to say that I think this is strong. It might not be standard strong, and the only reason I say that is the fact that you already have 6 power on the board, this could be a win more card, but I could be wrong. What do you got?
Yeah, so I love this more for the
The
fact of
art,
what
dude. That art.
potentially you can do. But yeah, the art's amazing. And I love Dungeons and Dragons, so like seeing a kobold, and they're usually cannon fodder in D&D, and that's what they are in Magic as well. 0/1 cannon fodder menace. I love it. But it's crazy to know that like it's probably gonna be great in Commander, great in Brawl, especially for Dragon decks. But again, it's basically, it could potentially be like a turn true combo. So you get it out on turn 1 with 1 red. Turn 2 you have 2 red, and then you attack with it, and then you infuriate twice. So now it's a 6/1, and it hits. And now you pull out a dragon, and your dragon, say you grab Terra Mount Villas, right? So Terra Mount Villas basically says that your creatures have double strike. So now it's a 6 with double strike, and you have a dragon that's a 5 with double strike. So now you're hitting them for 22. So they're just dead. But it is it's basically a 4-card combo with 2 lands. So you would basically need 6 of those cards in your hand on turn 1 to make that possible. So it's probably not going to be super likely. But my opinion is it could fit into other themed decks, ones that add counters, ones that do pump mechanics, things along those lines. It might not be a turn 1 play, but he might be like a turn 4 or a turn 5 play. So once he comes out, you probably have something to build around, and then he swings to attack. You do what you need to do, and then now you get out whatever dragon you need. So I don't know. I think in that realm, it'll probably be kind of fun to see. But again, it's all dependent on what you build around him.
You did it again, Will. I did not think of a turn 2. See, win more? I'm going to eat my words. That's horrible. Man, a turn 2 dragon by double pumping this on turn 2. I did not see that. So, wow. Okay. I take it back. Maybe this is going to see play. I don't know. If people start popping me with turn 2 dragons because of this card, I'm going to be running it. Okay, let's move along because I got paper in my mouth. No. Next, we have Circle of Dreams Druid, which is 3 green mana, and it's a creature elf druid. It's a 2/1, and who cares if it can be stomped for 3 mana, because if it doesn't get stomped, you're probably winning the game by taking over. And you're probably going to be casting, I don't know, a 10/10. That has War 10. So this is tap and add 1 green for each creature you control. This is like, what, Gaia's Cradle in creature form?
Yeah. And I actually was like looking at this card, and I was trying to think it through. And, of course, in Historic, you're like, oh, it's an auto-include in elves. It's going to really make it better. And then even Commander, like Savala decks, things along those lines that kind of like generate it. But honestly, I started actually really thinking it through, and I was like, man, imagine, those go wide decks, right? And I'll give you a prime example, Scoot Swarm. So, like, I have a Scoot Swarm, I have it on the battlefield, I drop it, and maybe I do a fetch land, I get 2 creatures, I have him already on the battlefield, I now tap him for like 6 or 7, depending what it is, and I'm just dropping whatever. So in a mono green build with like Scoot Swarm, or like, or even like a Gogore deck, where you're making smaller creatures and he comes out, I mean, I'm just telling you, I really feel like even in Standard, I think you could probably make this guy, if he does not get killed, the very next turn you're going off. So
I mean, wow. Turn 1, Mana Dork. Turn 2, Forbidden Friendship, because you're playing Gruul. Turn 3, Circle of Dreams and Druid. And if your opponent can't handle that, turn 4, you have 4 land out and 4 creatures. That's 8 man. Yeah, 8 plus the other mana. That's a lot of mana on turn 4 if you go unchecked. So, I mean, so you have a potential turn 4 9 mana at that point with this 4 creatures. There's 4 there, 4 lands plus the first mana dork. 9 mana. If you could crackle with power, I think that's a pretty big turn 4 crackle with power, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So
that's pretty good.
I think that's at least 10 damage on the crackle.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, so okay. Well, next is a card that I am really, really excited to talk about, because one of the things that makes green always a really big powerhouse is when there is a 2 green mana 3/3 creature in the format. So, spoilers, I'm going to talk about a 2 green mana 3/3 creature. Its name is Werewolf Pack Leader. It is a creature human werewolf. So, hey, humans, that's always good. Pack tactics. Whenever Werewolf Pack Leader attacks, if you attacked with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, draw a card. Okay, so green is getting to draw way too many cards lately. Toski, this is Toski's brother. No, and then you can pay 3 colorless and 1 green. You don't tap it. Until end of turn, Werewolf Pack Leader has a base power and toughness 5/3, gains trample, and isn't a human. Now, I don't understand that part, but I bet you it comes into play. So, go ahead. I mean, I know this is going to see play because 2 mana, 3/3, and green has always been
100%.
a key card. So,
yeah,
even without the other text.
Yeah,
without
even without
any
the
of the other text.
it's a solid green auto include. And it's a great card, again, for mono green. But I was also thinking, like, green-white counter decks, or maybe like a Simic counter deck mid-range, because Simic has a lot of +1 counters right now floating around, and same thing with Selesnya, all those counters. So trying to trigger his first ability of power 6, it doesn't just have to be him. It could be any of the creatures that you have on the board. But in mono green, I mean, Gargaroth is a 6/6, man. So you drop a Gargaroth on the battlefield and you're swinging with a Gargaroth. Not only does the Gargaroth have vigilance, but you're drawing a card. So it's kind of cool that way. Remember, and it's when the leader attacks. That's the only one that I was trying to get around. So if you attack with creatures that total the power, though,
you only need 3 more power. You only need 3 more, or 1 if you use its ability. So
yeah, and that's why, like, having those other kind of build arounds with it, you can literally get into that by the 3rd turn. There's that enchantment right now that every time you swing, you get vigilance and you add a +1/1 counter. On him, it's just, I mean, you're just going off. So
yeah, I mean, you're getting there quick. So, and if they can't answer a 3/3 on turn 2, and it's tough for a lot of decks to do, it's gonna be a problem. So, next is a really fun card. I like the flavor of it. It's called Gelatinous Cube, and it's 2 black and 2 colorless for a creature ooze. How appropriate. It is a 4/3, so it's pretty safe as a 4-drop from getting stomped. And it has Engulf. When Gelatinous Cube enters the battlefield, exile target non-ooze creature an opponent controls until Gelatinous Cube leaves the battlefield. So, those can always be problematic if your opponent can just get rid of them, but it has a really neat secondary ability, and I love it, Dissolve. Pay X and 1 black, so fire it up and then X. Put target creature card with mana value X exiled with Gelatinous Cube into its owner's graveyard. So as long as you can get to that next turn, or if you're late game, not only do you have a 4/3 that exiles the creature, but you can actually get that creature gone forever, even if you lose Gelatinous Cube. I don't know if it's going to see a lot of standard play yet, because maybe it will. I didn't think that, we'd have a 3-drop 3/1 white card that was just destroying the meta either. So what do you think about this card?
Yeah, honestly, I'm in the same boat. I was thinking like more of like a mono black control style deck, or even a Golgari mid-range deck. It's going to need ramp for this card to be truly effective. But the cool part about it is a removal spell. So even if it's for a turn, you're removing it for a turn. And if you're dropping this on a creature that is like an X creature, then that creature just comes back dead anyways. But right off the bat, if it does survive, no matter what, as long as the converted mana cost is 3 or less, then it is going to destroy the creature. So that at least gets you that introduction to it. So if you know that you have to take care of something that's 3 or less, this will at least take care of that if it survives. But those bigger creatures, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. It's going to be the staying power. Just like you said, it's not going to get stomped, and it'll be able to survive. But again, even if you're playing against mono red, they can still, frost bolt it basically for 3, and it removes it instantly. So there's going to be some workarounds. It might, again, like I said, probably the shell is going to have to be very specific.
And I almost guarantee you that the first time I take this out, I'm going to go against an opponent who is playing an ooze tribal deck.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so next what I have for you is almost too overpowered of a card, but the developers over there at Wizards, I think, made this balanced. It's going to be frustrating, and it's the newest Nevril's Disc, if you will. So make sure you check out that card. Great, fun, old-school Magic card. And what we have here is Sphere of Annihilation. It costs 1 black and X. It's an artifact. Sphere of Annihilation enters the battlefield with X void counters on it. I like that it's a void. I think some of the other cards in Magic that do this kind of thing also have void counters. Then it says, and this is the key part to why this card isn't overpowered. If it did what it did immediately, it'd be broken. At the beginning of your upkeep, so that means your next turn, exile Sphere of Annihilation. All creatures and planeswalkers with mana value less than or equal to the number of void counters on it, and all creatures and planeswalker cards in graveyards with mana less than or equal to the number of void counters on it. Pretty strong card.
Yeah.
Pretty strong card.
So this card specifically, it's an interesting sweeper. And when I say interesting, because it might be good in like best of 3, or definitely probably in historic, where you can get it from the outside and bring it in if you need to like sweep the board. The problem that I see in standard as of right now with this card is that you have to wait till the next turn, and the next turn is the problem. It might be effective if you're already controlling the board a little bit, and but I mean, then why need this if you're already in that kind of state? But my biggest concern right now is how much removal is in the game, and that exists currently. So, I mean, it can be exiled on turn 3 by a mono white deck. It can be destroyed by Gogari by being targeted. So, I mean, and even red has different ways of getting around it too. So the biggest thing that I really see with this card specifically is that if you can get it and it does work, great. But I don't know. I'm personally not sold on it yet, but maybe. And just because it evaporates everything, which is the cool part, so maybe late game it is like the perfect answer.
And this doesn't happen often, ladies and gentlemen, but I am not with Will on this opinion. I think this is going to see a lot of play, but with a caveat. I think it's going to ebb and flow. I think this is going to be what control decks need to keep rush decks in check, because you can do it for 2 or 3 early game and wipe them out. And what I mean by ebb and flow is when those rush decks start to put cards in their deck to handle that card, well then yay and good for mid-range and control, because now they're not having creatures in their deck, and you'll probably start to pull these out of your deck. And if they go, oh, we're not seeing these spheres anymore, let's get fast again, you put the spheres right back in. So I think this is a great check and balance for the best of 1 meta. That's my opinion on that card. So
cool.
Okay, well, next let's go with Graxlix Illicid Scholar. I think I killed it. I'm not even gonna try to say it again. 2 blue, 1 colorless, legendary creature horror. I like horrors. That's always a fun creature type. It's a 3/2, so you know what I'm gonna say. And then whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand. That seems powerful.
Yep.
Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I want to say that card one more time.
Yep.
Really let you hear that. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand, which is going to be you. And if you're building around this card, it's disgusting what you could be getting away with.
Yep.
And that includes this card. And whenever 1 or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. This is disgusting.
Yeah, when I read this card,
it has to be legendary.
I was blown away. I was like, okay, so probably one of the better strong control deck cards I've seen in a while. And yeah, I get it can be stomped, but if you're playing a control deck, it's probably not gonna be stomped. And the reason I say that is, like, even in Dimir control, you could almost create a hard lock, which is insane. So not only are you controlling the board, you're drawing cards like crazy. I'm really excited to build around this card and make decks around this card. I mean, I love control decks. So this card specifically, I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, being able to like do things with this card and different strategies, I'm super excited.
I don't know 100% what the build looks like yet, but I see this. You're going to have some protection. And I think Graxlix, I don't think it ever attacks if your opponent can block it. So be careful with flashers. And I think you build ETB triggered creatures around this deck to where your opponent is like, if I block that, they get to throw that creature again and do blah, blah again. I don't want that. And so they have to figure a way to answer those creatures again.
Well, remember what I was talking about, Azorius control? And remember we were talking about like the knight or things along those lines, right? He swings, he's got vigilance. And, if he gets blocked, cool, he goes back to your hand, you play him again, you're moving up the dungeon faster. It's little things like that. I was almost thinking you're running him and you're running
Elite
sorry, give me 1 second.
Spellbinder. You can
Yep.
have, any ETB that's a 3-4 drop. Not too big, most likely,
Yeah,
but
like I was gonna say
smaller
2, 3, or 4.
ETBs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller
Yeah.
even ones if they're the right ones.
Yeah.
They've got to be the
Yeah.
correct one drops. But anything that just has a really powerful ETB. I mean, Skyclave Apparition.
Yep.
I mean, just there's a lot of power this card could be built around. And once again, it does have to stick.
Yeah.
So
100%.
as long as your opponent's plans aren't interfering with yours. So, okay, so we are almost done. We got a few more cards for you. Let's go ahead and go to the Black Staff of Waterdeep. It's 1 blue. It's a legendary artifact, and it says you may choose not to untap the Black Staff of Waterdeep during your untap step. So I already know what this card's gonna do. I have an idea in my head. It has Animate Walking Statue. It's 1 colorless, 1 blue, tap. Another target non-token artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature for as long as the Black Staff of Waterdeep remains tapped. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, I thought it was going to lock down an opponent's card, so I'll admit I was wrong there. But interesting. This is very... What I like about it is if you have all these treasures that are flying around nowadays, you can make it a 4/4 as long as this is tapped, and if they kill it, next treasure. So
yeah, I was already thinking way like to the right on this one. And so from a historic standpoint, there's a lot of great artifact decks already, right? So imagine dropping a Thopter for 0, dropping this for 1.
Okay.
Next turn, turning your Thopter into a 4/4 flying, and now you're hitting him in the air, right?
On
but
turn
for
2.
standard, on turn 2, but for standard, I was thinking a little bit different. I was thinking Ginger Brute, the staff, and now you have a 4/4 that's unblockable. And that changes a lot. So there, and again, same thing if you have like treasures, you have whatever, but I mean, there's so many lower 1-drop creatures that you can start doing and attacking with. Now, it becomes an artifact creature, right? That's a 4/4, but it still has all the other text.
I didn't
it doesn't
notice
say
that part.
That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
So here's the other one I got for you. Say you drop like a spear. So like, you're able to gain life. And you drop it on turn 2, you drop this on turn 1, turn 3 you activate it, so now it's a 4/4 with lifelink. You're swinging for 4. So I there's a lot of ways to kind of manipulate the Black Staff of Waterdeep, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm excited to kind of really mess around with it and see what we can do.
Hey, you know what? If you manipulate those 2 artifacts that stupid trickery card is with this card, I will respect you a lot more.
I got one more for you.
Okay,
so
give it to me.
if you guys love mutate, I have another artifact that you might not remember, but you can mutate the Mother's Egg. So the Mother's Egg is an artifact for 0/1. Every time that you mutate on it, it gets a +1/1 counter. But now you can turn it into a 4/4 that mutates.
And
so not only is
counters.
and it still gets the counters, it still mutate, and it's a 4/4 instead of a 0/1. So there's, again, for you mutate decks lovers out there, there's a good addition for you.
I don't think it'll see as much play, but I love the fact that there's all these different options that you don't even think of when you see a card. And once again, I could be completely wrong. And I didn't think we'd be mutating on Goldspan Dragons either, but here we are. So, well, I know what this next card does because Will has been very excited about it, and I think it is also a very, very good card, and that is Treasure Chest. You can't play D&D without having a treasure chest. So this is obviously an artifact. It costs 3 colorless mana. And let's see what it does. You pay 4 colorless mana to fire it up. So best you're doing is turn 3, playing it. Turn 4, you can activate it. Just best case scenario. This is probably going to be a later game control, or I don't know. Will tell us in a second. I don't know what to do with it yet. But pay 4, sacrifice treasure chest, and roll a d20. If you roll a 1, you lose 3 life. Makes sense. 2 through 9 create 5 treasure tokens. 5. Yep. Okay? 10 through 19, you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. So, I mean, 2 through 19, all of those are amazing. And then, of course, you know if you get a critical roll, if you get a 20, something good's got to happen. Search your library for a card. Search your library for a card.
Yep.
If it's an artifact card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand, then shuffle. Can't wait to see what other artifacts they give us besides what's already out there.
Yeah, and I honestly I love this card. I don't know.
Only
I'm
one
probably
sucks.
like
Everything else I'm happy with.
yeah, like it is amazingly good. Like the benefits from this card, and don't be wrong, yeah, I definitely think it's gonna be either mid-rangey, a control deck style was gonna play it. I was thinking again, blue red, and you're going that route. And the reason I was thinking Prismari was just because think about if you get a 2 through 9, right? You get 5 treasure tokens. It kind of fits in that theme of Prismari. You're trying to get treasures anyways to cast those bigger spells and go off and go nuts. In 10 through 19, you're gaining 3 life, drawing 3 cards. Again, fits the Prismari. You're trying to draw more cards to do more things. But then the other cool part too is like think about like Magna decks. Or think about Gadrick. It's a dragon. You need 5 artifacts on the battlefield, or treasures, I'm sorry, on the battlefield for him to be able to deal damage. So like you can now start building decks around those and making it a little bit more problematic for your opponents. But say you do get a 20. And you're able to pull an artifact and put it on the battlefield. I was thinking like Chromatic Ori, right? So you drop Chromatic Ori, you now can tap it. You have, 5 extra mana you're dealing with. You basically created 5 treasures off of a d20. So it's pretty cool. Definitely going to see Commander for sure. And I really do like this card. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I personally think it's going to be strongest in a control deck, but I have a feeling this might get jammed into quite a few different things. I think people are going to be playing with it. So,
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
well, lastly, we have some land for you, but not just land. They have got some amazing. It's that original D&D book art again.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be the regular versions as well. I think these are actually really neat and exciting. They are a little not magic feeling when you look at them, but if you just get past that and realize this is a one-off fun set, I think they're absolutely gorgeous. So the first one we have for you is Cave of the Frost Dragon. So this is, like I said, they're all lands. They all do the same thing on the first line, which is if you control 2 or more other lands, then they come into play tapped. So it has to be the first land you play for the game, or it's going to come into play tapped. And I believe that's similar to, there's another version of lands like this, right?
Yeah. There's ones in the past that come out. You have to have, if you have more than 2 lands, they come in tapped.
So it could be the first 2 lands and come into play
the
on
first
tapped.
2.
Okay, so this is just the first one. And then you can tap it for 1 white for this one. All of them tap for their color. And then they all have like a man land kind of a feel to them. So this one, you pay 4 colorless and 1 white. And Cave of the Frost Dragon becomes a 3/4 white dragon creature with flying until the end of turn. It's still a land. So I'm going to just read them all and then have you kind of tell me what you think about them. So the next one is going to be the blue version, Hall of the Storm Giant. And it is 5, like I said, everything else is the same till the special ability. 5 colorless and a blue. Until end of turn, Hall of Storm Giant becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with ward 3. That's pretty awesome. And they're all still a land at that point. And then the last one is Hive of the Eye Tyrant, which is the black one. And you can pay 1 black and 3 colorless. Until end of turn, Hive of the Eye Tyrant becomes a 3/3 black Beholder creature with menace. And whenever this creature attacks, exile target card from defending player's graveyard. I mean, I think these could see play in the right environments. What do you think?
Yeah, I like all 3 of them for the most part. Having another attack land is always great. It definitely does help. But again, the shell has to be specific. I think if you're playing Cave of the Frost Dragon, it's got to be like a mono white control or maybe a Boros control deck of some sort. We haven't seen if there's like a red land or a green land yet, but definitely this is going to be one of those ones where you're trying to take advantage of that 3/4 flying overhead, dealing damage every turn, that kind of fun stuff. The second one I think is definitely going to see more play in those awesome blue control decks that I've been talking about all night. Again, you're controlling the board, you're doing everything you need to do, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm gonna hit you for 7. I'm gonna hit you for 7. I'm gonna hit you for 7. So I think that is going to be a strong card when it comes to control decks. Hive of the Eye Tyrant, I think this is gonna see the most play, to be honest. And the reason being, 4 seems to be the sweet number for lands, turning a land into a creature. 5 and 7, or 5 and 6, kind of expensive. So 4 seems a little bit more relative. 3/3, the menace helps, but then when it attacks, exiling an entire card from a defender player's graveyard, that's huge.
Be huge.
So I mean that really fits into that category. The only issue that I really see is that it's contesting against lands that we've already tried and tested that are true. Crawling Barrens, Faceless Havens. So, Faceless Haven, again, it strikes up for 3. You're able to go for a 4/3, but you're going with Snowlands. So you have to go, make sure that it fits that motif. Crawling Barrens, again, for control decks, a lot of people love it because you're building it up and you can almost one-shot somebody. So I think that's where the contention's going to be. But I love the flavor of these. I think they'll fit into specific decks, and having more attack lands, this is just super helpful.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a land or a creature that can get around sweepers. You've got a land that late in the game, if you're all flooded out and you're top decking, you still have a creature on the board. You just got more value built into one card. I can't wait to see the green and red one. I'm hoping the red one's pretty neat. But, I think you're right. I think the black one's going to see the most play. The other ones might have a one of in the deck. We'll see. I can't wait to see. So,
yeah.
Well, man, that was a blast. This is so much fun. We're definitely going to be seeing more cards. Before I wrap it up, Will, would you like to say anything else real quick?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all of our subscribers. You guys are amazing. For all of those who aren't subscribers, it's really easy. You just click subscribe and you can join us. You'd love to see our content. We're always trying to put out fresh, new, fun things, competitively fun decks, deck techs like this. It's really fun. So we'd love to have you join us.
Yes, and before I do my normal wrap-up, I would also like to say that me and Will have been having so much fun doing this that we've actually been talking about maybe doing a once-a-week what's going on in Magic kind of podcast and making that one of our weekly videos. And if you've made it this far in the video and you're listening to me say this right now, please don't stop watching or leave until you leave a comment down below and let us know if that's something you'd like to hear or see. We want to know. Because we really think it would be beneficial for you to know what's going on in the community, what's the top decks, what's the news at the moment, anything going on in Magic. Or you could even maybe submit subjects to us and we talk about those for that week. So we don't want to stop doing everything we've been doing, but maybe just adding that in once a week. And we really, really, really would love to hear what you have to say about that down below. So thank you very much for watching. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Not subscribed already? You're going to want to be. Check the description down below because we're going to be doing all kinds of fun stuff when we hit 500 subscribers. So definitely take a look to find out what that is. Already a subscriber, thank you very much for being a member of the Brew Crew. Also check down below for our Twitter and share this on social media. And as always, until next time, have a blast in the arena.